name is Nisi. I'm a PhD candidate in Chris Wilmer's lab in the Environmental Studies Department at UC Santa Cruz. And UC Santa Cruz is located on the unceded territory of the Awaswa-speaking Yupi tribe. The Amamutsan tribal band, comprised of the descendants of indigenous people taken to missions Santa Cruz and San Juan Bautista during Spanish colonization of the Central Coast, is today working hard to restore traditional stewardship practices on these lands and heal from historical trauma. Now I would like to tell you a little bit about my research. Large carnivore decline is widespread across the globe, and when we think of large carnivores, we often imagine them in remote, wilderness-type environments, far from human development or much human influence. But many carnivores can and do coexist alongside people in fragmented and human-dominated areas. And in fact, their persistence in these areas is increasingly recognized as being really essential for their conservation, since there's simply not enough protected areas worldwide to adequately support many of these species. One example of such a population, and it happens to be the population that I study, is the Puma population in the Santa Cruz Mountains of California. The Santa Cruz Mountains is a fragmented environment with exurban residential development interspersed within areas of high-quality Puma habitat. So it makes a really great environment to think about how large carnivores and humans coexist. And specifically, my research explores Puma movement ecology, population dynamics, and the interplay between those two concepts. And I ask, what behavioral strategies do Pumas use to live alongside people, and what are the consequences of living in more human-dominated areas on individual survival and population viability? And I've highlighted 3 chapters on my poster. So my first chapter quantifies Puma habitat selection behavior at different temporal scales of movement. And I identified scale-dependent patterns in movement strategies related to balancing energetically efficient movement and avoiding risk from people. My second chapter considers whether Puma avoidance responses allow them to actually avoid the risk of being killed by humans. And I found that the risk of being killed by people is actually highest in areas where cues that Pumas use to perceive human presence are low. So this means that Puma behavioral responses really do not allow them to avoid the risk of being killed. And this situation is called an ecological trap, and it impacts large areas in our study system, as you can see on this map. And my third chapter looks at the survival consequences of living in more human-dominated areas. And I found that female pumas that have home ranges with higher levels of human development experience reduced survival compared with pumas that live in more remote areas. And then using these results, we can project expected population growth rate across the study area. And here we see that some areas are able to support positive levels of population growth while other places can't. And this is an example of source sink dynamics, and it has really important conservation implications because, of course, you want to conserve and protect habitat that is associated with high levels of growth. And I have a few other projects that I'm working on as well, including an analysis that considers how drought influences Puma response to human development, exploring how the COVID-19 lockdowns affected Puma movement behavior, and considering how land use planning policies may have produced current patterns in exurban sprawl, and how those patterns may be related to other social and equity issues as well. And if anyone has questions about any of my work, please go ahead and send me an email. I'd be very happy to take questions that way or just talk more about my work. Finally, thank you so much for listening, and thank you again to the ARCS Foundation for their very generous support of my research. It's made such a difference in my life and in my work during this last year. So thank you very much.